All right, welcome to Muscle Maturity, episode number 56. I am John Hansen. I am joined by my co-host Samir Bannout, and our special guest this week is one of my favorite bodybuilders, Mr. Phil Williams. And for those of you that don't know, I'll introduce Phil. Phil won the 1985 NPC Nationals, and at the time, Jim Mannion said he was the best Nationals winner ever. And Phil also won the 1984 NPC USA. He beat bodybuilders like Lee Labrada, Gary Stridham. At the Nationals, he beat Lee Labrada again, and then he beat Ron Love. And then Phil went on to win his very first pro show he ever entered, which was the Chicago Pro Show in 1988. So welcome to the show, Phil. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome,
Well,
buddy.
Phil, you and Samir go way back, right? You and Samir met back in the 70s, right?
77.
Yeah, 1977. Samir was a guest poser. Samir and Danny Padilla guest posed for George Turner. It was the Mr. Missouri, and it was my second show.
How old were you then, Phil?
I was 17, and I took second in the short class of the Mr. Missouri contest because he didn't have a teenage contest back then. Well, not in the area that I lived in.
Okay. John, you won't believe it.
So that was
John, sorry to cut you. You wouldn't believe it. When I saw Phil backstage, I looked at this guy and said, "Oh my God, this guy has got to be a good pro." Right away, I just couldn't hold it in. I came and told him. I mean, the guy's shoulders to waist ratio, huge. So Phil and I became friends, and then we stayed friends ever since. And like I said, he just won every. Jim Mannion is correct. I mean, Phil had the body. He had everything, nothing missing. You know, I mean, yeah, he beat Lee Labrada and he beat some other top-the-line bodybuilder. But I thought Phil didn't really he didn't get the respect that he deserved because he is really a complete bodybuilder with nothing missing. I mean, incredible body. But anyway, but thank God he's here and he's still looking healthy and looking good. Thank God. So good to have you here, my brother.
Yeah.
And thank Phil, I've done interviews with you before, and I know you said when you were growing up, you admired Samir's physique and Robbie Robinson's physique, right?
Yeah. I saw Robbie on the pages of, I guess it would have been whatever magazine, Muscle Builder back then.
Muscle Builder, yeah.
And I saw that and I said, oh my God. I mean, I was so impressed. Mm-hmm. And 2 years later, I met Samir. So I decided, and of course, as a naive teenager, that I was going to look like a combination of Robbie and Samir.
Right.
You did
Not
a
knowing
damn
anything
good
about
job.
genetics. That was just in my head.
That just, I mean, bro, like a
Both
couple
of you guys
years later. Couple years later, you did it all. I'm still like puzzled. Why didn't you even take higher class? I mean, you really could have gone all the way. I don't know the exact event that you've been through, you know, because we all have ups and downs in our lives. But to me, I was almost sure that Phil is going to go all the way to the O and become like one of the most recognizable figure in bodybuilding. Well, we all know who he is. We all love him and respect him. But from my perspective, he should have gotten a lot more respect and a lot of more awards. Seriously, Mannion was correct.
Well, Phil, maybe you could explain. Maybe you could explain to our listeners, like back then in the '80s, it was way different. Nowadays, they give pro cards out like every show.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
But explain how it was back then and why you didn't turn pro right away.
Well, the 84 USA Championships was not a pro qualifier in 84. It became that in 86.
Yeah.
So going to the NPC Nationals, of course, winning the overall, there was no pro card with that. You had to win the World Championships. And that was 3 weeks later in my home country at the time, Sweden.
Yeah.
And of course, the story behind that, I had friends that were test judging, Swedish judges that were test judging at the World Championships. And they told me after the pre-judging, they said that you're not going to win because they marked you a lot lower in prejudging so that no matter what you do, you won't be able to come back and gain enough points, perhaps, to win tonight. So they're going to give it to Joseph Gromulus. And the reason they're going to do that, and this is what they told me, this is their words, at the 84 World Championships, where Gromulus was winning, at the pose down, they gave it to Gaspari.
Yeah.
And they were going to make sure that that didn't happen again this year in 85. So it had nothing to do with me personally, but what took place the year before at the World Championships when Gromulus was supposed to win, and then they changed it during the pose down, where Gaspari ended up ahead of him. And so I suffered from that show due to the fact that had taken place the year before.
I mean, so these guys were test judges, so they knew
they were
knew
Swedish
how the judging
test
was going to
judges.
go. Okay.
So they were judging as test judges.
Yeah.
But they heard the conversation and what went on. They saw what went on.
Look, I know.
Yeah. So could you imagine this?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
Yes.
He passed away a couple years ago.
He's passed away.
Yeah.
Gromulus,
but isn't that unbelievable, Samir? That he died a couple years ago.
That's too bad.
But isn't that unbelievable that a guy wins the overall at the MPC Nationals and then can't turn pro? I mean, now we got guys taking second in the lightweight class of the MPC Nationals and they're turning pro, you know?
First of all, no disrespect.
Well, the problem after that show.
No disrespect, Phil. I'm going to represent
that show.
Gromulus is not better than you.
Well,
right.
Thank you, Samir.
Was not.
But I mean, there's a little bit of politics in every show. I understand that. I mean, I've seen it over the years. It happens, and that just happened to take place during that show.
You're talking. Go ahead. I got to cut you really quick. I'm aware of all this bullshit in the game because look, in '82 it happened to me, where I have some judges deliberately cheating me, okay? Not to say Gromulus wasn't good. He's really good. But you just won the national and you have the physique, that complete body. And I know you were in awesome shape. So I know someone on those judging panel was biased and they cheated. Look, one of the judges, I've mentioned his name a million times, he gave me ninth on symmetry, Phil. You know that's my strength. You don't give me ninth on symmetry. And you know what's funny? No. A judge, a very well-known judge, I don't want to say his name right now, he mentioned it again on Facebook about 6-7 months ago. He regret what he did to me, and he said I should have won, but he voted me fourth. So, you know, I mean, you tell me that 40 years later. I'm sorry, bro. I know you I know what you've been through because I have too. So, welcome to bodybuilding.
Yeah, it happens. It definitely happens. And it'll continue to happen.
It's going to continue.
And it will always continue to happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just to show how good Phil was, the next year in 1986, they had the Night of the Champions. And the Night of the Champions was like, at the time, that was the second biggest pro show in the world. So Phil won the MPC Nationals. He beat out Lee Labrada, who won the middleweights, and he beat out Ron Love, who won the heavyweights, and Phil won the light heavyweights, and Phil won the overall. So 6 months later, they have the Night of the Champions in New York. Lee Labrada wins, and Ron Love gets second. So Phil most likely would have won the Night of the Champions if he would have been allowed to turn pro. And if you would have been allowed to compete that year, you know.
This is the thing. There's some unfairness here. If you really, I know, look, Ron Love is my buddy. Lee Labrada and I go back a long way. Lee is awesome, very professional. But if you look at body part to body part.
They're both great. Yeah.
You look at Phil had the calves, he had the flow, lower body, upper body, great V, huge. He's bigger than Lee. So then it's all depend on the conditioning here. I mean, you know, I can see he's going to do a lot of big battle with Labrada because LeBron is ultra professional. You have to give that to Lee. He's
Absolutely.
a masterful. I wasn't there, but I
Yeah.
mean, you didn't get a fair shake, in my opinion, during these years. Not to say Ron Love is awesome too, but again, if I look at your package,
Yes.
from the calves to fullness to overall proportion, you will give Ron Love a major problem in the overall physique and symmetry, in my opinion. But again, I wasn't there, but I know you didn't get a fair shake regardless. Look at that. Look at the waist.
Yeah.
Tiny waist, great shoulder to waist ratio. Incredible. And that's only
this was
one.
from
You
the
have
88 Chicago Pro.
Right. Correct.
What did you weigh here, Phil?
Yeah, so
remember?
I weighed 201.
That's about where I was.
You beat
201.
You beat Gary Stridham and John Natashak and Bob Paris.
Yeah, Albert Beckles was in the show. Yeah.
That tells you right there.
This is the guest.
Amazing.
This is the closing. This was the 85 universe.
Look at that. Tell me what's missing here, John. Nothing. Tiny waist, abs.
I've watched this closing machine a million times.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this is why I'm telling you, when I saw him in St. Louis, Missouri, I said, oh my God. I actually convinced Phil to come to California. I said, Phil, you got to come down here. If you really want to make it in the big time and go to the next level, you got to come down to California. And he did. Unfortunately, look at that.
So he lived with you, right, Samir?
Yeah,
yes.
Phil stayed with me for a few days, and then he got his own place, and then, he did his thing. But I can tell you what, Phil didn't get the recognition he deserved. That's my honest opinion. I mean, he's missing nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
He is missing nothing. Look at the quality. You don't see separation in the shoulders nowadays. You don't see that kind of 24 karat quality. Look, he has it all.
Right. Or great posing
There
routine
you go.
too.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, John.
What can I tell you? That's the world of bodybuilding for you. Look at that.
Yeah. And also, Phil beat Lee Haney when they were teenagers. That's another fun fact.
Right.
Look at that. Well, I mean, when you look at a complete body like that in shape, you can't fault Phil for anything here. I mean, I'm sorry. He could put back-to-back with Lee Labrada. Lee is in trouble. As much as I love Lee, and I love his harmony and balance, but Phil is not an easy. He did beat Labrada before. What? He beat what?
Twice,
I mean, he beat major names from Stridham to Labrada to Randolph, all these guys. So, and not
he beat
to go
Stridham
all
right
the way.
before he went into his first Olympiad.
Well, look at that video, and you will know why. Look at the separation between biceps and triceps. Amazing.
So, Phil, you mentioned that you met when you first met Samir. You were at George Turner's gym.
Correct.
So I know your nickname is the Enigma. So tell our audience the story about why George called you the Enigma.
Okay, I'll tell you a funny story, and I don't know. Only a silly kid would do this. When I was 17, I used to leave high school in Kansas City, Missouri, at 2:35 in the evening. I drive 400 miles plus, 365 from border to border. Plus, you have to drive within the city to get to the point. And it would be about 400 miles. I would drive on a Friday night or Friday afternoon. I'd leave school and drive to St. Louis. I'd get there in the evening, work out at George Turner's, sleep in my car, train Saturday morning, go back to the car, get some rest, train Saturday night, go back to my car, sleep through the night, wake up Sunday morning and work out. And then from there, I drive back to Kansas City to go to school on Monday morning.
That's what I call
why were you
passion.
doing this?
I did that in the snow, in the rain, no matter what, and the winters over there can be pretty severe.
Yeah, Midwest.
Despite all that, I did that.
And why were you doing that, Phil? Because George Turner's gym was the best?
Well, George, his gym was the best.
Yeah.
And they said,
No doubt.
that's the place you need to probably be.
Was I there before you with George, or you came in after me? Who went to George first, you or me?
I came in after you.
You did.
You were with George first.
Well, I saw George.
Sir.
George, he saw me at the Mr. International. He's very passionate. I'll tell you what, George is very articulate. He's a perfectionist. But he had this little temper that didn't really work well with me. It is worse than Vince Gironda when it comes to mood. I mean, as Padilla will tell the same thing. I love George. And they said, George, why don't you come to me? Come over to St. Louis. I'll hook you up. I'll get you an apartment. You could train and we win. You could go to the 1978 Mr. Universe in Acapulco, which is Tom Platz was my target. My good old buddy Tom.
Yeah. Right. I remember.
Tom won the Michigan 1976. I won it in 78. And Tom and I had a discussion underneath Ron's Body Shop in Detroit. And he goes, Samir, really would love to go to go work for Weeder. Wouldn't that be a dream? I said, yeah, man, that would be my dream too. Good enough. We both managed to do that. So when I went to George, he asked me to come and train and to do my prep with him. And I followed his style. He's, old schooler, Vince Gironda style. Low carbs.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, he really pushed me hard. You know that. He pushed me hard. I got depleted like hell. But honestly, I was in shape. And honestly, Tom Platz would have been in trouble. I have to admit. Tom would have been in trouble.
Oh,
because I was ready. Padilla said, oh, my God, you're going to win that show. You're going to win that show. No disrespect to Tom, but I wanted to be there. I wanted to compete. I'm as passionate as you are. And so what happened, this is where me and George clash. I waited until the last minute, 1 week before, to apply for the visa to go to Mexico. I was under the impression it's going to take a couple of days.
Right.
And so they said, oh, it's going to take 2 weeks to go to Mexico. Because some of my friends told me they can go to Tijuana. They don't even need a visa. You can go on driver's license. I didn't even think about it.
Sure, back, yes.
So George, he's flipped. I can't believe it. You wait until the last minute. You wasted all our effort. I'm like, saying, hey, I wasted my effort. I'm the one who busted his ass. I trained like a mad. I busted my ass for preparing, and I was ripped to the bone, depleted, but still looked pretty. And so I couldn't go. And so then George and I clashed. He said a few words. I couldn't hold my temper, so I cussed him out. I said, George, I don't give a shit how much money. I don't care about how your gym. If you're going to talk to me like this, you're not going to enjoy hanging out with me, George. Okay, guy, I don't care. He got crazy. We almost clashed. I was like, boom. I'm almost going to get physical with him. I said, I'm leaving. And then that's it. I packed up and moved to California. That's the only reason. But other than that, George was passionate. He had the best gym. And he really pushed me. He pushed me hard. And when Danny Padilla came to guest pose, I guest posed with Danny. And actually, I stole that show. And Danny was already a star. And I was still like a young kid on the block. I was only Mr. Michigan. But George, he said, oh, my God. Wow. And Padilla said, nobody's going to beat this guy. And, this didn't work. And that's why George and I ended up getting mad. He actually invited Joe Weider after the international. So I flew with Joe Weider to St. Louis, Missouri. I mean, George's gym was unbelievable.
Right.
He was one of the best gym in the country at the time.
One of the best.
And he built all his equipment.
Yes, sir.
George is a very smart businessman. He had he had 2 or 3 gyms in St. Louis, right? Couple of gyms.
Yes. At least
so I stayed at his house. He was really generous.
In St. Louis at the time.
He was very generous, and he had a lot of money at the time. He was doing very, very well. So everything was good
Yeah.
until
Yes, sir.
that I couldn't get my stupid visa to go to Mexico. I was just in Mexico 2
Right.
weeks ago. I've been to Mexico 10 times in the past couple of months, few months. So, but it happened. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. You know, I have nothing negative to say about George other than he needed to control his temper. And it was very
His
unfortunate
temper
that
was incredible.
he met a guy too that I couldn't take shit, bro. Maybe you were respectable to him, Joe, and you took
Right.
a lot. I couldn't. I just couldn't. So I remember
I was
had to go.
scared of him. I was 17 when I met him. And so
I
he
wasn't scared of
me.
him.
I was scared. I
I
was.
I wasn't scared of him, but he was very nice to me.
Being a
But
teenager, being a kid.
when he burst, bro, you know what? We went to eat one time, me and him and Danny Padilla, and we went to one of like the Big Boys. Remember Big Boys? The restaurant, was it?
I do, Big Boys. Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and he ordered a steak, and his steak came in, and it was small. He looked at the waiter. For God's sake, what is this? That's not steak. Take it. He screamed at people. He take it back. George Turner was, when he lose it, man, forget about it. Danny Padilla looked at me like this. We're laughing so hard. Calm down, George. It's just a steak. Just take it back. He said, please, could you change it? I'm not happy with it. But George, no. What's wrong with you? Can't you see this is not even one bite? I'm paying you goddamn bill. He talked like this. So that's fine. He was very intense. Very intense. You know, right?
Very intense.
Super intense.
Very intense.
Well, Phil was living with George for a while. Phil, tell that story when he was when his wife was making the dinner and stuff.
Oh,
I want to hear that.
Man, I lived with George. I moved to St. Louis after high school, and so he put me in his house, gave me a bedroom on a. It was like a large house.
He has a nice house.
He put me on a wing where I was sort of by myself. And yeah, if she didn't prepare the meal the way he wanted it to, he took a potato once he didn't like and threw it at her. And I was just, and some of the things he'd say to people in the gym was just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked for him in the gym. I worked in the gym, the gym on LeMay Ferry Road. It was like more of a showcase or like a palace. And he made the equipment in the back of the gym.
Yeah.
And that's where I worked. And being around him on a daily basis, I mean, there's so many stories I could tell. I could write a book about this guy.
Yeah.
He was one of the craziest men I've ever met in my life. And his temper, he gets
snapped. I'm telling you. Look, I've been around. Phil, I was around Joe Gold, and I was around Geronda, and you know these guys have some temper. Joe Gold could have temper like crazy.
Oh, sure.
You know, after I won the Olympia, George came and visited me at home here, and I treated him like nothing happened. I'm so proud of you, Samir. I always knew that you're going to be a star. I always knew you're going to do great. He was really sweet. So we hooked up, and then we went and we judged at Venice Beach contest. We were with Zabo. We have George Eifferman was with us. I have the photo. I got to send them to you. And rest in peace. George was wonderful, except his temper was not so wonderful. Everything else was awesome about George. Right. Really, one of the most passionate person you'll ever meet. Very passionate. He loved bodybuilding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny hearing those stories about those old time gym owners. Those old time gym owners were just. I mean, they just didn't fit in with society. They kicked people out. You told me George used to get in fights with his members. He kicked people out and fight them out in the street.
Oh, yeah. There were a number of those that took place. Yeah, if you dropped a dumbbell, or if you didn't use the equipment for the way it was intended to be used,
yeah,
he would come up. He'd run out of the office. He'd say something. Hey, what the and he'd explode, and we used to laugh. And oh, he threw more people out than I could ever count on for the most part on a daily or weekly basis.
Yeah.
I went out there with him and Joe. And Joe Weeder would say, George, for God's sake, come down, George. It was so intense. George, take it easy, for God's sake. We're like, I remember that was very memorable for me when I flew with Joe Weeder. We did a photo shoot at that gym where you trained. And yeah, man, you're right.
Right.
That's why I left after 1 month. Wow. I couldn't handle him. I know one of us is going to go to jail. I would end up in jail. I said, George, look, I love you, but you can be a pain in the ass. And you're going to mess with me, and you know me, I'm stronger than you, George. I'll kick your ass too. I told him that. Oh, you won't kick nothing, like you want to fight? I said, listen, let's call it out. Forget it. Okay, we're done. And then good thing we made up later. He came in and we made up. So rest in peace. He was just super intense, more intense than Vince Gironda and Joe Gold. I'll tell you, double the intensity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I believe that.
I mean, if he does that to his wife, forget about it, man. You don't do that to your wife. Throw things like that.
Right.
Yeah. Poor Kathy. I felt sorry for Kathy. I really did. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
that's old school story.
We can tell George Sterner stories all day.
Oh man,
well, I could.
Like I said, I could write a book on it.
How much time did you spend with George?
After high school, I went there. I stayed in his house for about 3 months, and I ended up getting an apartment with one of the guys that he also trained. I don't know if you remember. You will, John. Cliff Coons.
Yeah. I still talk to Cliff on Facebook.
Okay, yeah. Cliff and I got a little apartment together, or room. And that was to get away from George. After 3 months of that, it became too much. And then working with him in the gym. So I was with him in the gym and then with him at his house. So Cliff and I got an apartment. And I stayed there for about 3 or 4 months with Cliff. And then I moved back to Kansas City.
Spider will come in if you don't lock it tight.
Yeah.
But Cliff can tell you more stories about George than I could.
Oh, really?
He was around him. Oh, he's been around him much longer.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I have to dig some photo and send them to you guys. I have some nice photo with him.
Yeah, I'd like to see those.
Last visit when he came in.
I'd like to see those.
Yeah. Well, terrible how, I mean, that's life. I mean,
and here's the funny story.
Go ahead.
Here's the funny story about hanging out with George is that I think a lot like him when I see some of the stupidity I see in gyms today.
Right.
But I don't say it or scream it, but it's in my head.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dan Padilla will tell you the story, and he make it very funny. Dan is funny as hell. After that, eating at that big boy restaurant, we laughed so hard. We keep talking about it until now. I mean, how he screamed at the waitress, "For God's sake, what is this?
Right.
Take it back." The hamburger was so... Oh, my God. Yeah, but it was really pushing me hard. Samir, no, you're not going to eat that. You're not going to eat that. It was very firm with me, but I really was shredded, bro. I was shredded. I have the photo to prove it. But it just couldn't maintain a respectable relationship with him. He was just, his temper was beyond.
Yeah, but that was very hard to do, Samir. That was very hard to do.
I was around Joe Gold.
No one could do it for long.
Look, I was around Joe Gold, not a problem. He was mild. He had temper, but when you do something stupid to people, you say, "Hey, come here. How much did you pay for your membership?" $400. Joe Gold will give him a check. Said, "Yeah, that's what he does." Yeah. You know, that's how Joe Gold was. Yeah. But Vince Gironda was also a character where he get pissed off like that. but George was by far quadruple the intensity in anger. He needed anger management for sure,
Right.
big time.
Oh,
And,
for certain.
and
If
people
George
think
were around today, he'd be in jail for assaulting people.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
for
for sure.
sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
those old school gym owners couldn't get away with the stuff they did back then. They couldn't do it today.
No, not today. Not in today's world.
No.
Wouldn't happen.
Different world back
Yeah.
then.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, let's talk about what's going on today in bodybuilding. We just had a guy pass away, another bodybuilder pass away, and Phil, you've been on my show with Jerry Branham before. We were talking about this a couple of years ago, I think, when Sean Roden died. How so
Right.
many of these bodybuilders are dying at such a young age now, and this was a Brazilian bodybuilder, Chris Figueiredo, I believe his name is, and he was only 29 years old. He just died. I think he was it was liver problems. So why do you? I mean, we've had this discussion before, Phil and Samir, but why do you think these guys are dying so young now? I mean, this didn't happen back in the 70s and 80s. Why are they dying so young in their 20s?
It's no brainer. We already talked about it, John. You and I talked about it, and who is responsible for pushing these guys to the limit. I want to hear Phil Williams' input on that. So, Phil, what do you think?
Wow. I mean, be honest with you, Samir, I don't know. I know they're using a lot, but I haven't kept up with the amounts. I wouldn't have any idea the dosages that these guys are taking today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it must be tremendous amount. And back then, I mean, this is what I did. I'll mention this real quick. I would only use performance enhancing drugs 12 weeks before a show. No off season. I learned this from George 12 weeks before. And the reason why is that your receptors would get used to what you were taking. You had to continue to take more, which was dangerous.
Yeah.
So it was 12 weeks before show. And after the show, I'd clean out and I wouldn't go on again until 12 weeks before the next show.
Well,
and I did that throughout my whole bodybuilding career from the 70s up until my last show in 96.
I hung out around you long enough. I know you were not an abuser, and that's why you are here today. The problem here is, from what I read, it's a liver issue. And your liver enzyme, if it goes to a certain level, I mean, usually anabolic or excessively androgenic drugs that would damage your liver and your kidneys. So, there some guys are dying from different. Some die from dehydration. Some die from liver failure or kidney failure.
Right.
And, there's a big list of names. I don't need to talk about it now. But I know Matt Jensing was coaching him. And I know Matt is a very good coach. And he's not an abuser. But unfortunately, I was talking to you before we started the show. Sometimes some of those guys come to me, I get scared, Phil, because they have already done so much damage to their body. And I would worry that something happened to these guys and die on my watch. So I don't want people to say, Matt Jensing is coaching him. But, Matt Jensing is a proven pretty good coach, and look what he did was what's his name again? He's
Nick
coaching
Walker.
Nick Walker. Yes, Nick looks incredible, looking better than ever, and I think he cleaned up what Nick was doing. So evidently, Chris have an issue with, maybe, I would say, I don't want to speculate, but usually liver complication caused by excessively toxic androgen. It's no different than Nasser al-Somebody.
Yeah.
We later find out, even that's from Milo's diary, that Nasser at some point used 10-anadrol. There's no way in hell you can take 10-anadrol and live. Even taking 3-anadrol is excessive. And so it's possible that whatever he was using, he caused that lots of damage, because I read that it was liver complication. So Rest in peace. 29
Yeah.
years old. It's too young to go. It's really sad.
Way too young.
Yes. Yeah.
We
And
talk
then
about it over and over.
we just had Brett Wilkin. We just had Brett Wilkin drop out of the Olympia. He was getting ready, and I guess he had problems with couldn't digest his food or diarrhea, and he was having this for a couple of weeks. So he figured he can't go through and get ready for the show. So now here we got another dropout for the Mr. Olympia, and before that we had Ian Valère announce his retirement because he didn't want to go through. And this has all got to be, I believe, a lot of it has to be related to, all the stuff they have to take. It's everyone else is doing it. So you got to do it too, right? If you want to play in this field, if you want to play in this game, this is part of the game and this is part of the pressure. You got to take all this stuff that everyone else
It should not be part of the game, John. Look, I know what Phil was doing. Phil and I were very close, and we did pretty similar thing. 12 weeks prior to a show, we did about a reasonable amount. We made sure our body is healthy. We did a blood test and make sure everything is okay. We didn't cross the line. What they're doing today, the amount of drugs they're using today is deadly. It is deadly, and it's been happening over and over and over. We try to tell some of those coaches, but some of those coaches, I want my athlete to win, but your athlete is going to die. Keep going with that stupid protocol. I call these protocols stupid. Right. To say you weren't big, Phil, you were more than big enough. When you weigh 205 on stage, and you're only 5'6", Phil?
I'm 5'6", yes.
Yeah, I mean, come on, don't tell me 205 pound of pure shredded muscle is not big. And his waist, Phil said waist was what, 28, 29?
Yeah,
and
28.
You're still here. And thank God. Nobody's living past.
But let's be honest, I mean, the guys today are way, 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 way bigger than 205. And if a guy went in at 205, I mean,
look, I am 66 years old, and if I want to go on the gears the way they're going, I'd probably be the biggest man in the graveyard soon too. I don't need to be more than today. I weigh exactly 199 today. I weigh 199 pounds, and not 199. And I don't need to brag about it, okay? I got abs at 199, okay? But the thing is, my liver, my kidney, everything's functioning well. I don't need to be the biggest guy in the world. But if you put me on the right gear, we could have been competing at 230 for sure. We didn't need to be that big. We didn't need to be. And they are getting big the wrong way. When you take 600 milligrams of Trambolone, you're looking for trouble. When you take over 2 Energol for more than 6 weeks, you are looking for trouble. You're going to damage your liver and kidney. They're bigger, Jean, but they're not better. They're bigger. They're not better. This is what you need to know.
Right.
I don't think the quality's there. The beautiful quality. I mean, I trained to look like Samir and Robbie. That was more than big enough. I mean, I wanted to look like a Greek god on stage. I wanted to be beautiful from all sides.
Right.
And I wanted to have my train to be complete with no weak points. I mean, size, of course, yes, size is important, but it's not everything.
Look, we just saw a video.
I never trained to look like a gorilla. I wanted to look like a gorilla on stage. I wanted to be beautiful.
Yeah.
We saw
a tiny waist, wide shoulders.
Phil, we just saw the video of you just minutes ago, and I saw a separation between your biceps and your triceps. I saw decal in the shoulder. It's etched muscularity, clear. I mean, you had no subcutaneous fluid, and 205 pounds of onion skin, 24K quality. To me, it's zillion times better than 240 watery, hazy look. It don't mean crap to me. So we go back to the Porsche versus Cadillac. Come on, John. Don't tell me that Cadillac is better than the 911. Come on. It's quality. We have to go back to quality in bodybuilding. And one time I was saying
Yeah,
something,
but I mean,
and then GH look, I don't want to knock down GH. Look, GH is probably the worst thing that ever happened to bodybuilding. Okay, GH is an anti-aging drug when it's used properly, when it's taken under endocrinologist supervision. You replace 1 IU, 1.5 IU, or somewhere around that. Boy, you don't take 15, 20 IU. And so this is what I'm saying. They're creating more volume, Phil, more volume. But I seldom see separation from the delt all the way to the elbow, which we had. You had that onion skin, Phil. And I don't see anybody, really hardly see anybody with etch quality nowadays. That's why I say,
you really don't, Samir. I mean, and the problem, this is part of the problem. I'm going to say this: the judges started rewarding the bigger bodybuilders. So what did bodybuilders do?
they followed that protocol.
There you go. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying there.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
with open men's bodybuilding, I agree. Obviously, we all agree that quality is the most important thing, and it's better to have a 205-pound physique with quality like you did, Phil, than to be 260 and look like, a gorilla, like you said. But I think all these guys are 260 now, so they feel like I got to be 260. And if I'm not 260, if I'm less than that, I'm going to get killed. So then that's the pressure, and that's the pressure the coaches are on. Like, we got to get you bigger. We got to get you bigger. And I think that's even
the problem.
Even in the off season, they got to eat so much food and they got to take so much stuff. Like I can't imagine. I saw Ian Valère on Fouad's show after he retired, and he was like, "Oh, the weight of the world is off my shoulders. I don't have to eat all this food. I don't have to take all this stuff. It's like he was so happy to be out of it. And if
I bet he was relieved to be out of it.
Yeah, and if that's where the sport is now, I mean, it's just going to get more and more dropouts, right? I mean, there's going to be less and less people that are going to want to do this. Who wants to put their bodies through that,
No. And I tell you what, it's not worth it. It's certainly not worth it.
Not if you're going to be
dead. Health-wise, it's not worth it, and financially, it's not worth it.
Right.
It's not.
What's the payoff? What's the payback? Right.
You know what? They're dying at least 20, 30 years younger than the old schooler. At least 30 years younger. And it's been proven. I mean, Nasser Al-Sambadi, he could be here with us today. I mean, what's his name? Anderson, and what's his name? George Peterson. We go back.
There's a long list.
Dallas McCarver dying at 26. Come on, guys. Now we know there's I don't want these keyboard warriors to start running their mouth. Oh, he did die. He choked on a piece of bread. Shut up. The guy is abusing. He is dying because he's doing the wrong thing. Guys like Dallas McCarver could have Mr. Olympia already 3-4 times, from my perspective. Incredible.
Yeah. He would have lived.
So this is the consequences, Phil. I mean, John, it's
right.
You're getting bigger, but you're dying younger. And does it really look better? Yeah. It doesn't look better. Maybe in the lineup when you stand to the other guys, the bigger guy look bigger. But under the light, when you zoom in and you don't see this separation in detail, like you did see on Phil.
The detail.
So this is a different, man.
That's why I think...
we got to go back to the old school way, guys.
That's why we think the classic physique division now is getting more and more popular because classic physique is like what bodybuilders used to look like in the 80s, and that's what people want to look like.
Absolutely, yeah.
And another thing we should be talking about. We also should be talking about this. Go back to the old school and live at least 30, 40 years more. Follow what these big boys are doing, and your chances of dying at your 40 or before is huge. And it's been proven.
Sure.
So wake up, guys. Wake up. Bigger is not better. Really. Who's listening to?
Absolutely.
I think Jimmy.
Hopefully someone will listen.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I think Honestly, I see that there's less and less people looking like they're getting into the open men's bodybuilding. So I think
Yeah, that
people
may
are
be.
responding. People are responding by the lack of participation.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
talking about
absolutely.
classic, let's talk about classic because we got the Olympia coming up 2 weeks from this weekend, and
Wow.
Chris Bumstead, of course, I think is going for his 5th classic physique Olympia title. So we got 3 guys that are going to be probably his main contenders, and that's Ramon Dino from Brazil. We got Urs Kalinski, I messed up his name, from Germany, and we
Yeah.
got Terrence Ruffin, who just won 2 pro shows. So do you guys
Right.
think that any of these guys, any of these 3 guys, has a chance of beating? Here's Urs. Now he's
Urs,
looking much,
Urs.
much bigger and super shredded.
Yeah,
So
I
I think.
like
Do you
Urs.
think Urs has a chance to push Chris Bumstead?
I tell you what, I like Urs' physique more. I think Urs needs to definitely. Which I say, Urs. Anyway,
Yeah, Urs.
I,
Yeah,
I I think his arms have came up a little bit. He's gotten better. I like his body. He flows very, very good. I, I don't know. I think he's the closest, but don't forget Ramon. Ramon has a complete body. Personally, I
Right.
think Ramon has a better flow than Bumstead, from my perspective.
Right.
So
I
these
agree.
are the top
I agree
three.
with that.
Yeah, I think the top three
look at the
would be,
glutes.
they're the top. Amazing. But hey, you got to look at the whole package, John. We could see body part, shredded,
Yeah,
striation and stuff. But all this don't matter
right.
until you take your whole everything and want to see the whole physique. The good things about Bumstead, he's smart again. He knows how to control the stage. Ramon, he needs a higher guidance and he needs a better supervision with his presentation. Urs can pose. All I say, Urs need to put on slightly, a little bit more, another inch on his arm. If he does, he'll be very dangerous. But again,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ramon probably, if he improves, he's dangerous. I like Ramon's body. His arms,
Yeah.
forearms, he's
Yes.
got just about everything. He flows. He flows better than Bumstead. Bumstead is masterful. He knows how to show his strength and hide his weakness. This is one thing about Bumstead. He
Right.
wouldn't win Mr. Olympia
what
5.
do you think,
He
Phil?
won it 4 times.
Did he recover from a torn biceps? Did he
Yeah,
have? I guess he
I
had
believe
to
he's
recover from that.
yeah, I believe he's got a torn bicep. Yeah.
Yeah.
He still?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't. He didn't do surgical on it. He didn't do surgery, right?
I saw something on YouTube and they said it was still torn. So,
Okay. Huh. Well.
but he looks really
Uh,
good, in his latest pictures. So,
his condition is excellent. This is his strength: is he know how to condition his body and know what to show. He shows strength. He hide weaknesses. Again, Phil, how do you see it, buddy?
Well, I think Bumstead has the advantage with already, winning the show 4 times already. So I think
yeah,
that he's in the winner's seat. And if they equal him, that may not be enough. But you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Someone will have to actually beat him in order for him to lose. But
right,
if they equal him, he would probably keep the title, I'm guessing.
yep,
Yeah, more
I
likely.
agree.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
When I see
What about
Bumstead
a smaller
training,
guy like Terrence Ruffin? You think he's got a chance, even though he looks like perfect by himself? I mean, do you think he's got a chance against some of these bigger guys? Because all those other 3 guys are much bigger than him.
Well,
Terrence,
that's the problem right there is the size difference. I
Terrence
think
have
the,
Yeah,
similar
the problem
issue.
would be the size.
Terrence has an issue. If Terrence had my arm or Phil's arm, he would do way better. He'd be more dangerous. I think Terrence have similar issue like Urs. He could have
yeah,
fuller arms, and I just like the way he perform, how he show his body. Look at that. The guy's incredible. I could have 2 inches on his arm.
Yeah.
He'd probably win the show. An inch or 2.
Yeah.
But he's super professional. Look at the quality. I mean, his quality here better than Bumstead right here. And that photo.
Yeah.
He took second to Bumstead 2 years in a row. So, I mean.
Yeah, I would love to see his arms a bit bigger and maybe improve his calves a little bit. But everything else wonderful on him. Look at how masterful. He's a good poser, too.
Yeah.
Very good poser.
Oh,
he knows how to show his body. Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Right. Yeah.
How about you, Jean? I know you like Bumstead more than anybody else in this game. Well, how do you see it?
Yeah. I think Bumstead's going to win again.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, John, but just because of the position he's in right now, already being a 4-time winner.
Yeah, he's already
got
the momentum, he's got the advantage being the champion,
Absolutely. It's hard to unseat the champion unless you're obviously better.
He's fantastic when he gets up on stage. He really knows how to present himself. He's always in peak condition.
But I want Bumstead to have more guts and go to the real Olympia, okay? I mean, he's winning that title. And you know what? Honestly, you're not Mr. Olympia until you win Mr. Olympia. You know, all the 4.
Yeah.
Then he's not considered Mr. Olympia, with all due respect. If he goes, I think his chances is excellent. He has better quality than the guys competing at the Olympia. So his chances is excellent to be up there too. I would recommend Bumstead to go into the real Mr. Olympia to win the, I mean.
That would be the chance for the judges to reward quality over mass,
Right.
And he's going to compete around 245, 250, correct, John? Or more. Bumstead.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, come on. That's a lot
and
of
he's
muscle.
What, 6 foot, 6'1"?
6'1", I think, yeah.
Okay. That's a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
A lot of muscle.
That's a lot of muscle.
And you know how to show it.
He's not a small guy just because he's classy.
No.
If I was him, I would target to Mr. Olympia.
It.
It would be a biggest honor for him to be Mr. Olympia, the real Mr. Olympia. Do I think he could? I think he have good chances. And $400,000.
Well, if
come
he wins
on,
this year, that'll be number.
Oh, sure.
If he wins this year, that'll be number 5. So that would be a good time to change. Maybe go next year into the Open. I think.
I'm not impressed even if he win it 10 times. I'm more impressed if he goes against a big boy and do it. I'm being honest. No disrespect from Bumstead. I know how he functions. I know his body. I know how he performed. Is capable? He is capable. But come on, Chris, let's have some gut and go against the big boys. His chances is really good. I mean, still like he's taller. He's taller than Hadi. You know what I mean? Than Hadi Chopin. He's taller than Derek. And he's going to stand out. He's going to be like, he can stand out with his quality. His chances is excellent. Really. I would have done that.
It'd be exciting to see. I wish
it would. It would be.
And
let's talk about another guy that. Go ahead.
What other guy are you talking about? Go ahead.
Behruz Tabani. He was a Milos client. And I guess he's from Iran, I believe. And I think he's not going to be able to compete in the Olympia. And this guy's got an excellent physique if Scott can pull some pictures up. Visa issues, I believe.
Visa issues, yeah. I was going to say it might be visa issues.
That's so bad. That's bullshit. I mean, I like his body. Honestly, the guy is very good. He's very good. And his chances are excellent. Isn't it a shame that he can't compete? I mean, come on. Let's not mix a sport with politics. Iran and United States have an issue, but let the athlete do their work. He's an athlete. That guy's that bring more peace to a nation. I like his body. Some of his poses, like I don't disagree with the legs opening, but he's got a good physique. That I think disagree with that.
Yeah, pose. I think he beat I think he beat Brett Wilkin last year, and that's why he got qualified. So he's qualified for the Olympia, but he's not going to be able to make it here because of that visa issue. And I guess he's in shape. I guess he's ready to do it, but he unfortunately won't be able to get out here.
But he's been here before. Why is he having a problem coming back?
I don't know if he was here before because the contest he got the qualification from, I don't believe that was in the United States.
That's a shame. I just hate politics.
But it's a shame because there's so many guys pulling out now. You know, in the last just in the last month, we had Big Ramy pull out. We had Ian Valera pull out. Now we had Brett Wilkins pull out. So, I mean, there's openings, you know. I mean, he could have moved up, and he's got the kind of physique. He could have been a dark horse, you know.
But why is it unfair? Because Hadi, Hadi Chopin's already made it. He got his visa. So why not giving him a visa? This is what I don't understand.
I don't know. I don't know the details, but I guess it was, you know, they didn't know for sure if he was going to be able to get it. Now they're saying he's not going to be able to.
These are the two most dangerous guys at the Olympia this year. What do you think about?
What do you guys think about? What's that, Samir?
I'm saying I'm going to ask Phil's opinion on his top 5 at the Mr. Olympia this year.
Well, okay. I'll go with Hadi or Derek in first place. They could maybe switch depending on condition. The day of the show. I think Samson Duda could do very well.
Yeah.
Andrew Jack has a lot of potential to place pretty high. And you could Hunter Labrada or Nick Walker would also be in the top numbers if they both hit their condition just right on the day. There's your top 6 right there, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
In no particular order. It's really hard to say, but I would say there's your top 6.
Yeah. You think Hadi's going to win again, Phil, or do you think he's going to?
It's possible that he may. He has the advantage going into the show. So, yeah, being last year's winner. So they'll be looking at him more than anyone else to see if he's either improved or at least, well, let's say improved.
Yeah.
Or is it in the same condition he was last year, which may be enough.
Well, in this age of social media, I mean, everybody is posting stuff every week, and he hasn't been. So do you think that's going to be a disadvantage? You think he's going to be, you know, looked over now for guys like Samson and Derek and Nick that are posting all the time?
I think it could be an advantage by not doing it. Then you show up and you're better than what they expected.
Yeah.
If they see you all the time, they get used to seeing you.
Right.
And you become less impressive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
But if I go away and stay secluded and come out and shock you, that may be the right thing to do.
That's what I did for 83, Phil. I went and hid myself in Germany, and even Joe Wheeler said, Samir, let's take some photo. And I just ran away. I said, I'm not doing anything. And so I just boom. I came in at my best ever. And I think you're right. Hadi's hiding himself to the last moment. I think he's going to shock a lot of people. But don't forget.
I believe that's a good strategy.
It's a good strategy, but don't forget. I think Derek he was very, very close second. And it's all depending on what kind of quality he brings this year. So pound by pound, they're pretty balanced. I mean, they're both really good. So who is going to be the more shredded, more professional? And like you said, Samson is good. Andrew Jack is good. Don't forget Nick Walker. We don't know what Nick Walker is going to show up this year. Is it a new Nick Walker that we haven't seen before? It's hard to really predict 100%. But I think Derek is going to be the biggest surprise this year. I really feel Derek is dangerous this year. Very dangerous.
Seeing the photos of him, the latest photos of him, I mean, he looks incredible. So, yeah, that could very well be.
Yep.
It's all.
Well, I think it all comes down to who shows up on the day of the show.
On the day.
Who's in
all
shape.
that one on
Everybody
those
makes
few
predictions,
hours.
but we don't really know until the day of the show.
All the
Yeah,
Instagram
those few
photo,
hours that'll make a real big difference.
all the Instagram photo and showing off right now don't mean crap. It's the day of the
Yeah.
show.
Not much.
Okay,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Samir,
He's
what
in
about your
safe
guy
hands.
Crizzo? What do you think about him?
Crizzo, look,
Oh.
Crizzo is dangerous. Crizzo, look, if you bring Crizzo to really, really professional old schooler to show him how to approach the stage, to have the confidence, he's got the body. I'll tell you what, the guy has no weaknesses.
Right.
The only weakness he have is his power, personality, and showing what makes him look best. You have to shoot to kill. He doesn't shoot to kill. That's a problem. There is look, when you have a good arms, he's got an incredible arm. That means you could do zillion pose and look good. You could do this, that, anything because you got the arm. But he just doesn't have the presentation. He still can't fly. That's the only thing about Crizzo. Other than that, if he covers this area of presentation, he's deadly dangerous. Look at that.
Right.
I mean,
he is dangerous. He's extremely dangerous.
He's Mr. Olympia on Instagram, Phil.
Yes. Yeah.
When the show comes, he cost me a sushi with Jean last time. That's why I'm not going to say more. Look, I'm convinced that guy is Mr. Olympia material. Look at the shoulders and arms. Phil, look at that. He just 100%. Can't fly. I'm going to give you a nice jet fighter, F-17 or 18, whatever. And if you don't know how to fly it, good luck. You're not going to do shit with it. So this is the situation with Chris.
Where do you think he'll place this year, Samir? Where do you think he's going to place? We just mentioned 6 guys. Do you think he's going to be all those guys are going to beat him?
He could make the top 5. He could make the top 5 if he at least improve his presentation. But the problem is no presentation. Why do you think Lila Brada always in the winner's circle? Because he's masterful. He knows how to show it. He aim and shoot. Crizzo have no clue about aim and shoot. I don't care about improving his muscle.
He's going to get better?
Presentation, right, Phil?
No, I mean his presentation. Do you think he'll improve his presentation from last year?
I don't know who's helping him. If I'm helping him, he would need at least 25 sessions with me. That's how difficult. He needs to have someone that been there. We keep talking about it. Labrada, the 185-pounder, the 180-pounder. First, in Houston, me and him, we used to practice a little bit of posing. And when he came to Southern California, he would go all the way to Palm Springs to get help from the master himself, Frank Zane. But I'm telling you,
Zane, wow.
It's so important to be able to show what you have. If you don't, I don't care if your shoulders and arm bigger than anyone. You don't know how to aim and shoot, you're gonna miss your target. That's the only problem with Crizzo.
So when Crizzo competed earlier this year, he had to do a qualifying show in order to qualify for the Olympia, and he won it. He took first place, and he looked much better. I mean, his back looked improved, his tan looked improved, even his posing. I mean, he's not a great poser, but he looked like he was better than last year. It looked like he learned. So do you think from that show to the Olympia, he's going to make further improvements, or do you think he's going to be about the same as he was for that other show?
Look, I'm working with a gentleman right now, Douglas. Doug, how do you say Douglas last name? I always have Fruch. Douglas has a great body. Yes. Douglas has the body. I'm going to work with him tomorrow. The guy has the body, and I did like 5 sessions with him. He improved, right? But if I show you my text messages, I'm telling him I'm not happy yet. It's not simple. You got to really learn. You got to go over. It's not a double bicep. It's not lat spread. It's you got to aim and shoot. All of these things you cannot be taught in over a week and 2. It's going to take time.
Right.
It takes time,
It
Phil.
takes a long time. It takes time.
It
Yes,
takes
it
quite a
does.
bit of time,
It
and
takes
that's
time.
why I'm saying. That's why I'm not so keen about Crizo being able to pull that off yet. His body, of course, he could win. Same thing I said about Regan Grimes. He's got the body to be he's easily in the winner's circle. Regan Grimes is still not in the driver's seat from my perspective in this area, Phil. I mean, Regan Grimes is still like stand up with his leg open, and he does like a last spread. Something looks off, completely off. I don't know why Milos isn't helping to get better in that department. He needs to learn how to pose, and guess what? Regan Grimes easily in the winner's circle if he does all the above. And he's not. Same
He
thing
learns
with
how to
Crizo.
present himself. Yes.
That's why Crizo has everything. Look,
That's
who has
true.
bigger shoulders? Who has bigger shoulders and arms than Crizo? Nobody. And Crizo doesn't have a stomach. He's got great calves, great body. He flows very well. He just doesn't. He's not a masterful poser. Simple as that. You know.
So he won't make top 6.
I for that reason, I will take him out of the top 5. If he improved in that department, it could very well go all the way. So it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not betting sushi this year, Samir?
You what? You're not getting sushi?
We're not betting sushi dinner this
year? He let me down. I mean, look, he let me down. I saw the guy from close up. He went on stage. First of all, he looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost. He was pale in the prejudging. And I look at his face. His face says, I lost. You got to have the face, I'm the winner. You got to have the winner face.
His face,
you got to pose.
Face said, oh, shit, I'm in the Mr. Olympia.
Look, I was very impressed. And I'm saying, if he gave me that airplane he had, I will win the Mr. Olympia 150%. I'm serious. If he let me control his muscle, if I take his body and put my creativity in him, I'm sorry, I don't mean to brag, but I know what he can do. Same thing, I know what Regan Grimes can do. The muscle is there. And Regan already got pretty close on the quality. He could improve a little bit more. But if he shoot to kill, he'll win. But he's shooting. He's not killing. He's shooting. Boom, 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 boom. You're not killing. Same thing with Crizo.
Yeah.
Like Hadi
what about Brandon Curry? Brandon Curry, former Mr. Olympia, he took second after he won 2 times in a row. I mean, do you think he can win it again, or is his time over with?
I hate to say this. I think.
Go ahead.
I'd say his time. I'd say it was behind him. His time is over. I believe there's been a lot of guys that have come up and that are more impressive.
Yeah.
And Brandon is impressive. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's. About done. I think he can place well, but I don't think you'll ever see a winner's circle again.
Yeah. Phil, he's got a nice body. Brandon has a good body. Again,
he does.
His dilemma, his hamstring, the bottom part of his hamstring is hurting him. And yet, even though I think he could also improve in the posing department, he could. Oh, I mean, the guy is good. Sure. Really, he's already won Mr. Olympia. Come on. It's all depend.
Right. No, absolutely.
I'd love to see him. He's a wonderful person, great body. I'd love to see him etched to the bone. If you bring that onion skin quality, improve that part in his hamstring, which is slightly above his knee. He needs to fill up that area a little bit more. He's good. Look at that.
No, he's great. I mean, as former Mr. Olympia. So he has the tools to do it.
You know,
not only did he win the Olympia, he won the Olympia in 2019, and that was admittedly a weak year. I mean, there wasn't too many guys in it. Sean Roden wasn't in it. I think William Bonac was second that year, and Hadi was third. But after that, he did take second to Rami the next year, and then he took second again to Rami 2 years ago. So only 2 years ago, he was in second place. and he was full and he was big. He just wasn't quite hard enough. And it came down to the wire between him and Rami. So, he's been very close. But last year he dropped to fourth. And now it seems like everybody's got him written out of the top six. I mean, doesn't seem like nobody even thinks he's going to make top six.
I hope he'll
So
prove us all wrong. I hope he can prove everyone wrong because he still have that body. Can he come in etched to the bone? This is what it takes. It takes someone to come in with the new Brandon Curry, beautiful physique, etched to the bone, masterful in presentation. You know what? He still have the muscle, so let's see what he brings to the table. He went backward on popularity. What's that, John?
It seems when he comes in etched to the bone, then he loses his legs. His legs go down in size, and then
that's what I meant.
He lost it.
Yeah, his upper body is massive. I think his lower body's got slightly behind. Although it looks pretty good in the front. But look at how massive he's on top. He's got a long torso. You notice? Really long torso.
Yeah, short legs.
Yeah.
Short legs.
But look at he's missing nothing. Great shoulders and arms and beautiful arm. You see his hammy, what I'm talking about? The bottom part of his hammy could be better. Yeah. But I mean, who's perfect? Only God is perfect.
Yeah. Right.
I don't like the idea when they hunch down Phil to do that pose of grabbing their butt and hamstring to do a side chest. Why? What the hell was it gonna do? It's like, bad habit in hunching down the side chest. I don't like that. You got to be yourself when you pose.
You see a lot of that.
I mean, from far away, he looks good, but I think his quality could be a lot better yet.
So either one of you guys think he'll make the top six, or do you think he'll be below top six?
Can I say
it's possible?
Can I say something? Can I say something, John?
It's very possible, John.
If Brandon can have the quality of Phil Williams, if he get the quality of Phil Williams in that video we saw earlier, guess what? He could win it again. But he doesn't have.
But do you think he will?
Skin.
Like if you guys,
well, I think
if you guys had to make a prediction right now, 2.5 weeks out, do you think he'll be in the top six?
It's very possible, John.
All I know,
I would say, I mean,
same
once
answer.
he steps on stage, if he's improved,
he's a former Mr. Olympia.
I mean, it's very possible.
It is. It's true.
Of course,
100%. Let's see what he brings to the table. That's
so you got Hadi, you got Hadi, you got Brandon, you got Samson, you got Andrew Jacked, you've got Nick Walker, and you've got Hunter Labrada. So which one of those guys would get knocked out if Brandon's going to beat him?
Whatever he brings to the table that day.
I mean, you'd have to see him on stage. I'd have to, exactly.
That's the word.
Yeah,
we have
it could be any one of them could get knocked out if they're not in condition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And any one of them could get knocked out if they're off.
Okay.
I mean, the opposite.
All right, the last thing I want to.
Hey, I got to say something. If Quizzo can pose like Brandon, he will do damn good. Brandon is a better poser than Quizzo. Oh. You see what I'm saying? Brandon quality is right there now. I'm surprised how Brandon getting that paper thin skin at that mat. Seriously, he had good quality for that muscle mass he have. It's a shame that he can't control it on stage. This is the only thing. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, Brandon will come more improved than the past couple of years.
They're trying to bring him in bigger than Brandon.
Yeah, that may be. Yeah.
I mean, that was the problem last year. He took fourth last year, but he had a great physique. He was just too big, too full, not hard enough.
I don't care about bigger. He needs to come in paper thin skin, shredded, and pose with more authority and be there. Let's see what he brings. Like Phil says, I possibly could make the top 5. It's possible.
We used to see that all the time back in the day, right? We used to see smaller guys come in shredded and in the Olympia, in the Mr. Olympia, and they'd place high.
Yeah.
You need to come shredded. You need to come super shredded.
Yeah.
Look at that.
All right. The last thing I wanted to talk about was Sergio Oliva Jr. is now training in Spain with Dorian Yates.
Wow.
And he thinks this is going to, turn around his physique and turn around his career. What do you guys think about that?
Wow. Very possible if, wow.
Well,
I would
let's put
say
it
he
this way.
definitely could improve.
Look, if you have the discipline of Dorian Yates and the intensity of Dorian Yates, and he follows similar concepts,
Right.
and his mind is positive at
Right.
all time, I think Sergio is playing with his own head all the time. He played with his own head. Sometimes he's not sure. In the past, I told him, I said, Sergio, you could easily do ABC. He said, no, not yet. I'm not. You got to be confident. With Dorian on board, he's already was a proven Mr. Olympia many times. Dorian understands intensity,
Right.
and I don't know. Everything is possible. Let's see what happens. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing being with Dorian.
I think it's most likely he will definitely improve.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Most likely, I would think he'd definitely improve. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good move for him.
I think so. What do you think?
What do you think? Type of. Do you think it's the type of training that's going to do it, or do you think it's that he's really going to make the improvements in his physique?
His physique is good.
Well,
he just needs to bring that.
Use the high intensity system.
I think if he followed the rule of what Dorian did back in the days, apply it the right way with his good attitude, not questioning himself every week, not to run into accident like happened to him in Dubai with that motorcycle accident last year, and keep his head focused with Dorian. Honestly, if he does what Dorian did back in the day, I see a good thing. Definitely.
Right, Samir. I agree with that. So he should definitely be. It's definitely a good move.
It is.
Do you think Sergio's got the mindset that Dorian had?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. If you have the mindset, if Dorian contagious, and you put that same training spirit and attitude in him, he'll be Sergio is very good, man. I think Sergio in most cases he's not sure of himself. Now, if you have Dorian on board, that's going to help him. What do you think, John? Honestly, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I don't know if it'll make a difference. I think with Dorian, when Dorian was doing this type of training program, he absolutely 100% believed in it. And I remember Peter McGuff said one time that because Dorian believed in this system so 100% that it was going to work because he was so convinced it was going to work. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it was so effective for Dorian, because Dorian believed this is going to work for me. I'm going to follow this thing 100% and I'm going to be the best bodybuilder in the world. And he was maniacal. Dorian was so driven. He was so crazy, and he would do whatever it takes, like that caption just said. So, I think that's a big part of what worked for it. So I think if in order for it to work to Sergio, I think Sergio's got to have the same kind of mindset. He's got to be
mindset.
Yeah, he's got to believe okay, this is what's going to make the difference. This kind of training, and he's got to be convinced of that. And I think Dorian can help him get there if that's his mindset. But I think the problem with Sergio has always been his mindset. I think he hasn't been totally. I don't think he's totally convinced he should be a champion like his dad was.
Right.
100%.
Right. Well,
we already touched on that.
The mind is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
The mind's everything.
100%. I think with Dorian on his, I think his mental attitude will be different. Like I said, if you follow the same concept of Dorian with the training intensity, even the eating way, what Dorian did works. I know that. Yeah. So if he comes in more gnarly or harder, pose a little bit better, be more positive, I think we're going to see a new Sergio. Let's hope. I mean, before it's too late, he's already over 40 now. He's 40, right?
I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't realize he was that old. Yeah.
This is his last chance.
Dorian did the same thing with Chris. Remember, Dorian did the same thing with Chris Cormier. He had Chris come out to his gym in London,
Right.
and he trained with him out there. And he, Chris said later on, years later, he said it was kind of a little too late. It was a little too late in his career by that point. And Chris said he goes, I wish I would have went to him years earlier.
Earlier, yeah.
Before he had some of the injuries and before all the partying and stuff. And he thinks it could have made a big difference, but at that point it was a little too late. So I hope it's not that way with Sergio.
They trained in the dungeon back then when Dorian was still training in the UK.
Yeah.
Now they're in Marbella. I don't know what kind of atmosphere, but the bottom line, he needs to train with intensity.
You can go to the beach afterwards.
You know what? I think I would strive more in the dungeon. I love rusty equipment. I like the old school touch.
Yeah, the old dungeon gyms.
I would love to train at at Vince Gironda's old equipment or Joe Gold old equipment. I don't like this new equipment, man.
Too.
It doesn't do it for me. Well, you could too.
No, I don't either. Yeah.
We're too biased.
Joe
for
Gold
the
used
old
to
school.
design the equipment and then have the bodybuilders try it and then say, "What'd you think?" And then he
Hey, I'll tell you something, John. George Turner got the blueprint from his equipment from Joe Gold and Dan Howard.
Huh.
So it was the same equipment in World Gym as in George Turner's.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that equipment was the best to this day I've ever used.
Wow.
Look, all the equipment. I saw so many Italian, French, English people come in, start shooting pictures of the equipment, Joe Gold's equipment. Joe Gold didn't think much about it. So many machines built. They stole the blueprint of Joe Gold stuff, I mean, Joe Gold was the very first to start these more advanced equipment. Yep. The original.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The good old days.
Yeah.
The good old days. All right, guys.
Well, Phil, I want to thank you for joining us on the Muscle Maturity podcast. It was great having you here.
Thanks for having me. It was great, John. Samir, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
My day.
Pleasure. Good to see you, really. I'm happy. They surprised me. They didn't even told me. They didn't tell me you were there, but I was surprised. Yeah. I'm so happy that you're on board. So hopefully I'll get to see you soon. Okay?
Yes.
I'm coming to Gold tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow and Thursday. And so, but I know you're you in Oxnard right now, right? Are you in Oxnard?
I'm in Ventura, which is next to Oxnard.
Pretty close, yeah.
I'm in the city of Ventura.
It's a long drive for you.
Yeah, pretty close.
Well, we'll hook up. I'll keep in touch. We'll do something.
So, please, let's get together. I'd love that.
For sure. But really wonderful having you on board too, Phil. Really. Real whole,
Phil. It was great
to be part of it, guys. Thank you both.
All right.
Yeah.